at the lake, which I have to say, that would be our first choice too, but we're sort of down to where we don't have any other choices for getting internet in that area. And some of those people have said, but I would not stand against it because I know there are people who will benefit who aren't speaking up. Part of the issue has been has been so contentious amongst that community, and I feel very badly about that. But I also feel strongly that as there are many people up there who, yes, won't actually receive service from a tower located at this spot. And they are opposed, and that totally makes sense. And there are some people who don't have internet at all and are opposed, and again, that makes sense. But I did like the response of the person that considered, even though they have their own internet through a different system, they were, they didn't want to stand in the way of other people having service or having better service. And, you know, it's been difficult. For me, it's not a hard decision, but it's been difficult because of the emotions that have been raised. And Monday night, Tuesday morning, about 2 o'clock, I'm thinking about this, and, you know, and looking at it from the perspective of the comprehensive plan, you know, we are committed to protecting our natural areas. We are also committed to economic development. And we know that internet access is just critical. And it's not just the people that are here now. It's looking to the future. And I see that as I look at my kids that were born and raised up here, what was going on in the school. The school has very good computer access, and they're teaching in computers. But if the kids don't have that same, you know, up to that near level at home, they don't benefit a whole lot. Anyway, I went down 2 o'clock in the morning and rummaged through my bookshelf, and I came up with a 1969 National Geographic article on Door County that is highly credited with opening the door. And when I came in here last night, and I wish we had that quote back up, people in the future looking back at us and smiling and welcoming us to the future, I feel like had the county municipals, had the fathers and mothers back in the late 60s, early 70s, if anybody had had an inkling that there would be internet, and of course nobody did, they would have said, hey, let's plan for this. But nobody knew. In the 70s, I'm working for my history professors and copying off quizzes and tests on a mimeograph machine that had the little holes along the side. You load it in and you ink the drum and you run off copies. So, you know, and even the people I knew that were into computers that landed jobs with IBM back in the early 70s, we didn't think of personal computers. We had no idea that it would be personal computers, not when our computers were huge rooms filled. But there's so much work that we do now on computer. There's so much work in the cloud, as has been reinforced already tonight, that happens. And if we, you know, the people who can arrange for their own internet and are satisfied with what they have is fine, but that doesn't do anything for the broadband, the broad base, the general welfare. And we're so far behind. I don't feel like we can say no, even though I know it will cause a lot of problems. It'll cause a lot of grief.
Can I say
The,
something? Okay.
the future is sending back good wishes and waiting with open arms.
And when I saw that last night, I was thinking back to the future. Would somebody please come back and tell us what we're already not even considering in another 30 years? And I agree that, you know, in the, you know, on the future horizon, that there might be other solutions, but right now, as Dave pointed out, we don't have any other solutions. And as our properties turn over, as we're trying to attract, again, we heard that from the fire chief tonight, we are having trouble attracting people to just keep our community going. You know, the people that are here all the time and doing the work. We're having trouble, we're falling behind, we're really falling behind.
Well, the main charge of the board is the health, safety, and welfare of the community. If you go to health, we know that what's coming down the line is communication with medical sources through the internet.
Yep.
It's already there, CPAP
Yeah,
machines.
Yeah, it's already
Bluetooth.
there. Welfare, we know from the study that Whitewater did, tremendous impact on our community. If we can get people to stay a day or two longer, tremendous impact. And we need economic sustainability and
Yes.
economic growth in this community. And I understand we have a responsibility to people who are not permanent residents here, but I think that is overridden by our responsibility to the people who have chosen to live here, expect us to provide for them as best we can. And the only player in the game right now is Delaware County Broadband. And the only way they can communicate through the internet is through towers.
Yeah.
Can I make a statement? Or no?
Well, technically,
No, I just.
Yeah, today's technology is gonna be usurped by the future's
Oh, sure.
technology. So whatever goes on that tower today, and you may not have communication immediately, who knows, in 5 years, it may be, lightning speed. But if you don't have a tower up or some device to get that signal out and about, you're getting further behind. I mean, you gotta look to the future of, not all those people are gonna own those homes forever. There's gonna be, turnover, and that's gonna affect what property values are. But, so I think we need to do that.
As Kathy had eloquently indicated, internet is so vital to the economic growth of the town, to medical things, to our children and learning. And as Paul has pointed out, the technology changes so fast. Today's 100-foot tower, 10 years from now, could be absolutely obsolete and gone, the way technology grows. And it does seem to me, I'm a tree hugger from way back, and I understand the pain of realizing that a tower could be there in your backyard. But at the same time, it's not a great big 200-foot Cellcom tower with full array. It's a 100-foot, very small footprint tower. Yes, it will stick up above the trees and it's silver, but it seems like a reasonable compromise at this point in time to accept something like that for the good that it represents to the community and the moving forward. And I live very close to Europe Lake, and we actually asked Door County Broadband, come and see if you could put something up on our 15 acres. Not that I want to look at it, but I realize the importance. There are, especially in our neck of the woods, areas that you cannot get a signal, period. And I just think the way technology has grown, even in the last 10 years, it would not be out of the realm of possibility that 10 years down the road, all the towers would disappear. It just seems like a reasonable compromise. It's always a balancing act to balance the rights and the wishes of property owners and nearby property owners with the good of the community. And as Chris Heck talked, we're not talking, when it comes to broadband accessibility, we're not talking about tribal municipalities. We're talking about the whole county. It's a huge problem in all of Door County. It's a huge problem in all of rural America. and we're doing the best we can.
Okay, anybody else?
I can't.
All right. We have a motion on the floor and a second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. All right, going on to number 20. Consider Resolution 119. Or is it 19? I don't remember. Blight elimination in Ellison Bay. Do you want me to read it?
Well, this is just about identical to the one that we did for Gills Rock. It goes through the procedures and the reasons and why we might be at where we're at here. And then on the bottom of the first page, it says the parcel at 11976 Highway 42 is found to be blighted for the following reason. And the reason would be the present environmental conditions and concerns identified in the Phase 1 environmental site assessment and vacant and dilapidated status of the 11976 Highway 42 hinders the desired improvements of this parcel in the forward development of the town as a prime destination for locals and visitors. And be it further resolved, the town shall take action to eliminate the blight situation and acquire the parcel. So that's where we're at this point. The Phase 1 has, as I mentioned earlier, has suggested a Phase 2. And the correspondence I got from the environmental people, and this is from the Economic Development Planner from Bay Lake Regional Planning, actually. After I sent them the Phase 1 study, they wanted to see what it was before they would comment on it. Our consultant reviewed the Phase 1 and has determined that there is enough to continue looking into for a Phase 2, placing this under our hazardous side due to the variety of chemicals, but also with some potential petroleum because of the unregistered tanks associated with the property. He also said the investigation would look at the building exterior in areas near the leaks, near the tanks or chemical storage, look to see if there was staining near any drains in building interior that drained into the septic field. Once I get confirmation that the town would like us to complete a Phase 2, I will put in a request to EPA for approval of a Phase 2 evaluation / report. And then on an earlier email, if you have not already committed to the Phase 2 contractually with a firm, which we have not, we would send a request to EPA for site approval, who has to approve all the work done to see if the Phase 2 could be done through our program. If approved, it would be funded 100%. So please let her know if the Phase 2 is an option, we do have funds available. So that would be the Plan Commission has passed their resolution, similar to the one before you tonight, and this resolution would solidify the exemption from any liability for contamination that exists on the site prior to the town taking title.
I'll move approval of Resolution 119, blight elimination in Ellison Bay.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Lowry,
Yes.
Kavazis,
Yes.
Goss,
Aye.
Ward,
Yes.
Schwengel.
Yes.
Let the record indicate the vote is unanimous. Okay. Going on, consider post office consultant floor replacement.
The post office has been on our case for the last couple of years to replace the floor. We have repaired it somewhat with some glue and duct tape. They've sent us letters. I've been down there. I've had, I believe it's 5 flooring contractors look at it, 2 of whom said, no, they didn't want anything to do with it right away. 2 who said they would send us a proposal on the cost. It never showed up. And these were fairly large firms from Green Bay. And I think this project was too small
Too
for them.
small.
Third one, or the fifth one, I don't really recall what the response was, but anyway. Last week, we got a registered letter saying that now there is, claiming there's asbestos in the flooring, and want to tell us how the procedures, who we're gonna use for asbestos abatement when we tear up the floor. And the threat is the same as in the previous letters I received, that if we don't do anything, then the post office will hire the contractor and take it off the rent. So I looked at that, and I went down and got there's copies of, or boxes of the flooring that are out in the garage down there from when it was put in. Called up the project manager and gave him the name of the product on the phone, and he called back and said, there's no way in Hades that there's any asbestos in there, because it's a green product, which is made from flax. And it says right on there, it's flax, made in Scotland. He said if there was asbestos in it, the stuff wouldn't wear out, it would just stay there. So I said, well, and then he presented me with his qualifications and said, and I told him about this, you know, I've been after these, trying to get this done for a couple of years, and he said, well, if you would have paid me $200, it would be done by now. So I said, okay, well, give us a proposal, and I'll present it to the board on a Wednesday and see what they say. So that's the proposal that you should have, and I think it's $1,100 or something like that for his work.
1341.
1341.
I've got a couple of questions. So the post office has to back off on the asbestos stuff, yes?
Well, he said, well, have
They're
him-
dealing with Mike Tilley, you think they're
I
gonna...
would hope so. Well, they are such bad actors, though. I remember when they were
Yeah,
first
yeah.
wanting to get into this rental contract, I'd love to boot them out of there. Okay, so hopefully that's covered, because that's ridiculous. Secondly, is there anything in the specifications or contract or anything that says it has to be tile? It seems like that didn't last very long,
Well,
10 years.
I questioned him on that, and he said, well, he had gone through the list of approved items to use on the floor and that was all you could use by the post office when it was done, because they paid for this remodeling job, and they had their list of stuff only that you could use, so that's what we're locked into.
So you couldn't use like a decorative concrete or anything like that? That is a
Well,
30-year
that's what we'll go
guarantee.
through, that's what I'm gonna tell them if we do this, I'm gonna tell them, right now, the back room is concrete because the stuff's all gone. And the one company that was there said, well, how would it be if we just took it all off and then redid your concrete with I said, yeah, that'd be fine. What would really be nice is something like is in the fire station down there with that coating that's there, but then that takes, I think, something like 3 days to dry. And the doggone post office is open, the lobby or box area is open 24 hours a day.
There's a guy in Sturgeon Bay that does decorative concrete, because GeoDC has been looking at him to do that up at the Discovery Center. And I don't know how long it takes for him, you know, for things to dry and to do stuff, but I asked him all the specifications about, you know, heavy traffic and, you know, that kind of stuff, and it's 30 years, you know, that's,
Why does it have to be decorative?
oh, he would do just paint, you know, paint it to, you know. But you can look him up online and see that, you know, examples of the work he does, and it's very attractive, it's very durable. It just seems like they've only been in there like 10 years or so, and all of a sudden, you know, are they
Yeah.
paying for the replacement, or are we?
Well, it's
Well, we
ours, it's on our watch.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, it was done in '09, so like you said, 10 years, didn't even last 8 years. figure.
Right. I know that I got an over-the-phone quote for the guy in Sturgeon Bay, and it came out on a per square foot basis, less than carpet,
No.
worth a call.
If we're cited by OSHA because they insist that it is asbestos,
Yeah.
is Mr. Till going to indemnify us?
No, he wants to see the testing that was done on the product to
Yeah.
see the asbestos.
I'm saying, could we work it into an agreement with him to say? If we give him this, if we give him the,
Or either if, we're basically going nowhere otherwise because
gotta do something there.
I've got nobody, and then if they're gonna do it and come in and do it, it's off our rent, so.
I'm saying if we just put a clause in there to suggest that if they insist that, you know, like a spade in the ground kind of thing, if they insist that if this is torn up, that was asbestos, he should at least indemnify the town and say that he would bear the burden of whatever measures are taken to show that that's not asbestos, rather than for us to have to do that.
For the post office to admit they put asbestos in a building is really something that they approved is really stupid in my mind. It just doesn't compute.
Well,
Well,
what else is new from 9 years ago?
and I was wondering if, point number one, we would write directions and specifications that, I wasn't sure if this was a misprint, that aqueous,
Acquiesce.
acquiesce.
Right.
Is that misspelled? Because,
probably.
anyway, to postal service requirements. Are those the same requirements that we were looking at 10 years ago?
Don't know.
Meaning, are we going to have a different outcome? Something that lasts more than 10,
8
hopefully
years,
3
yeah.
times that?
Well, you gotta look at it this way. In 10 years, most of us
Acquiesce.
probably aren't gonna be on the board.
I couldn't figure that out.
We hand it off.
I was thinking about 15 minutes from now, but
Well, Lou has an interesting point, but knowing Mr. Till, I cannot see him signing, you know.
he seemed pretty adamant about the fact that that was not asbestos.
Right, and
And all I'm
it-
suggesting is that he put his money where his mouth is in saying, I will take responsibility to prove in a court of law that that was not asbestos such that the.
He'd love to get in the court of law on something like that.
Yeah,
If you've
he'd be-
examined the boxes and the
Yeah.
material that was installed, I mean, that's pretty obvious.
And that was the first thing he told me, well, we went by the post office's specifications.
Right.
They had to approve it, and they did. And it was from their list of products.
Yeah, but since then, how many staff changes have
I
there
was gonna
been?
say, and how many bureaucrats are gonna look at this and say, oh, it's an asbestos removal, let's get after it, let's get
Yep.
after the town.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Prove that it's not asbestos now, it's easy enough for them
That's
to
the
just
game.
pass that on. right?
Yep.
the game.
Yep.
Prove it's not asbestos.
You'll do it.
All right, well, I think we should just have him specify that in his,
Yeah.
in whatever work he does for us.
All right, we'll modify the agreement.
Just to say that should that be an issue, he should be responsible. Because it could be an administrative nightmare to have to prove a negative that way.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so we're going to make a motion to approve his management contract, adding a clause of,
A clause to the effect that should we be in a position to have to disprove the asbestos in there, that he would be obligated to do that without any additional cost to the town.
okay. Did you get all of that, Stacy?
Sure.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Would you like to add an amendment to have him come and give a presentation before the board?
It's a long enough meeting tonight. Oh, dear. I won't ask you the. All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Operator license.
I don't have any.
Ooh,
Yay.
correspondence.
I do have some. I have the minutes of the April Sister Bay Liberty Grove Library Commission meeting, along with the Sister Bay Liberty Grove Library Commission Annual Financial Report, done by none other than CLA Connect, the auditors who audited the town. A letter from Jim Schussler with a picture of the people that went to legislative days in Madison. Top of the Thumb Snowmobile Club banquet is going to be Wednesday, May 8th at the Viking in Ellison Bay. Door County North has a spring something or other going on. Spring meeting and visitor center open house Monday, May 6th at the Viking Restaurant and Grill. Well, they're in the Viking busy that week. Copy of Mr. Cap's letter regarding the survey. Copy of the registered or the certified mail from the Customer Solution Center regarding the asbestos in the, alleged asbestos in the post office. Correspondence from the Land Use Services Department notifying that the Worcester conditional use permit has been approved with conditions. Letter from Charter announcing an internal corporate reorganization. Spectrum Mid-America now holds the state-issued authority to operate the cable system in your community. Spectrum Mid-America is an indirect, wholly owned subsidiary of Charter Communications. That's it.
Okay, future meetings.
You wanna do that? No. Wanna do anything? Okay. Wait, you got the wrong month here. Tomorrow, Door County Tourism Zone, Naswapy.
Nassau-Wappy, which I found out the town hall is right near the airport. I thought I
Yes,
was
it
gonna
is.
have to go further.
Yeah, it's
So
right-
when I saw that, I was,
it's
yes.
right there.
I can do that.
Yeah, it's pretty
The-
close to Hazi's.
Yeah.
Check
This
the,
is the, I'm sorry, it's the first
How do you
meeting.
know about that?
This is the first meeting that they have hosted, which is a reflection of
Nassau
their,
Wappy?
yeah.
Oh,
we're not
Pretty
on the,
sure.
we're not on the calendar at all in their future.
I noticed that. Well, we
We're too
picked
far.
up, we met at Clay Banks this year, and I think that was the first time. Remember I talked to you about the turkeys in the field? And I think that they're realizing some, some lodging tax is one reason that they're doing that. 75 of them, don't you remember?
You notice how my mouth opens, it comes out over there?
oh dear.
Okay, and tomorrow night, also, the tech committee meets at 7 o'clock. The hall is closed on Friday to observe Good Friday. The closing for the Olson parcel is Tuesday, the 23rd. Wednesday, the 24th, the valet visit with Carol Carls is going to be 9:30 a.m. Plan Commission, 7 o'clock, question mark?
At this point in time, it doesn't look like it.
He just took it off, you're not having a meeting.
No argument
Are we
here.
going to this visit? This,
At the valet?
Yeah, do you want to set up a visit down there at the
How about that
valet?
9:30
Will that
one?
be, will all of us be in the way for what she wants to accomplish? Does it matter? Stop
Minor
it.
detail.
There's one in there in May. There's one in there in May.
Or a site visit? When?
I thought I saw it.
It's too far ahead. We want to do it quickly.
We want to get muddy.
I got boots.
I don't see it.
Go back to April.
Well, we had one in April, but we took it off.
I was the only one that showed up. I have no.
Yeah, I don't have anything in May.
Carol
Okay,
Carls.
I think,
That's what I just mentioned. Okay. Pardon the interruption. Carol Carl's Valet on the 24th at 9:30 in the morning. It's on a Wednesday. If you want to go, I'll post it as a board thing.
Go ahead.
The lady to the north, what's her name, Darla? Something like that? Wanted to know when we're gonna do that because she's concerned about having a burn with those cedar trees along the north side of the building. And Chris Heck said he'd meet with the board down there too at some point when he could discuss what could happen if a burn took place.
9:30
Nine- yeah,
on
thank you.
Wednesday, April 24th?
Yeah.
Okay, at the Valet.
Wednesday, May 1st, Town Board, 7 o'clock. Nothing much scheduled here. I got Highway on the 13th, Monday at
Don't
8
sound so
o'clock.
disappointed.
Oh, and 14th on Tuesday, Parks and Property, 9 AM. Town Board on the 15th at.
Library also on the 14th.
Don't we have Fair Board on the 15th, too?
Oh, I don't know.
What time's the library?
I've got 3 PM.
Oh, my gosh, I don't have that. It's a good thing you just told me. Wednesday, the 15th at 3 PM?
Wednesday, May 15th at 3 PM. I have it on my calendar.
Oh, my gosh.
Also on the 15th, the Board of Review will meet and adjourn at 6:45 PM. Fire Board at 3 o'clock.
Oh, my God, I don't have it in my calendar.
Slow down.
That takes us through the middle of May.
6.
Okay,
Board of Review is on the 15th, bud?
Yeah, 6:45, just before the board meeting.
Oh,
And GODC is on May 17th.
okay, before I move to adjourn, I want to share with you a quote from Malcolm Kushner. I have no idea who he is. People who are resting on their laurels are wearing them on the wrong end. I move we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, thank you.
45 PM. Okay. Yeah.